God told me to warn you. Congratulations, if this video reaches you before July 3rd, mark this date. There is a quiet reason this moment feels different, even if you cannot explain it. Perhaps you almost kept scrolling. Perhaps you almost chose another video, yet somehow you are here, reading these words at exactly the right moment for your heart. If this message found you before July 3rd, let that date become less about prediction and more about reflection, because sometimes a single day becomes meaningful simply because it reminds you to notice what has been quietly changing inside you. Stay with this, because there is something gentle unfolding that deserves your full attention. For a long time, you may have wondered why certain chapters in your life seemed to move so slowly, while everyone else appeared to race ahead. You smiled when people expected you to smile, you carried responsibilities without asking for recognition, and you learned to keep your deepest questions hidden where no one else could see them. Yet growth often happens in silence. The strongest roots develop beneath the surface long before anyone notices the tree standing tall. That is why this message is not asking you to become someone different. It is inviting you to recognize the person you have already been becoming through every quiet decision, every patient moment, and every unseen act of faith that shaped your character little by little. As July 3rd approaches, consider marking the date not because something dramatic must happen, but because it can become a personal reminder to pause and look honestly at your own journey. Think about how many times you believed nothing was changing, only to realize later that your perspective had completely transformed. The conversations that once unsettled you no longer hold the same power. The disappointments that once defined your days now feel like distant lessons. Even your prayers may sound different today because your heart has matured through experiences you never expected to survive. There is something important here. Sometimes, the greatest answer is not found in receiving something new, but in finally recognizing how far you have already come. So before this part ends, make a quiet promise to yourself. When that date arrives, take a few peaceful moments away from the noise of the world. Breathe deeply, give thanks for every lesson that strengthened you, and allow yourself to believe that every season has carried meaning, even the ones you did not understand while living through them. Your story has never been about rushing toward an ending. It has always been about discovering hope in the middle of the journey, finding purpose in ordinary days, and learning that every small step of faith matters more than you realized. The next part will explore why certain moments seem perfectly timed, even when they first appear completely ordinary. Have you ever looked back at an ordinary day and realized it quietly changed everything without announcing itself? That is often how meaningful moments enter our lives. They do not always arrive with loud celebrations or unmistakable signs. Instead, they settle gently into our hearts, waiting for us to recognize their value long after they begin. If this message has remained with you until now, perhaps it is because something inside you has been searching for reassurance rather than certainty. Don't miss what comes next, because the greatest discoveries are often the ones that begin with quiet reflection instead of immediate answers. There have been seasons when you questioned whether your efforts were making any difference at all. You kept showing kindness when it seemed unnoticed, remained faithful to your values when it would have been easier to compromise, and continued moving forward even when progress felt invisible. Those moments were never wasted. Every choice shaped your character in ways that cannot always be measured from the outside. The patience you developed, the compassion you learned, and the wisdom you gained through waiting have become part of who you are today. While you may have focused on what had not yet happened, something far more meaningful was taking place within you, preparing your heart to appreciate blessings with greater gratitude and humility. As you think about marking July 3rd, let it become a personal milestone rather than a countdown. Write down what you have learned over the past season. Remember the people who encouraged you when your confidence felt small. Reflect on the unexpected doors that opened only after another one quietly closed. You may discover that what once looked like delay was actually giving you the time needed to grow stronger, wiser, and more prepared for what came next. Stay with this, because when you begin noticing these quiet patterns, you realize that your life has been filled with moments of guidance that were easy to overlook while you were living them. Carry this thought with you as you continue your journey. You do not have to force tomorrow to reveal every answer, nor do you need to compare your path with anyone else's. Your story has its own pace, its own purpose, and its own quiet beauty. Continue walking with gratitude, even when every detail is not yet clear, because peace often grows in the space where trust replaces the need to control every outcome. In the next part, you will explore why certain people, memories, and unexpected moments seem to return to your heart at exactly the right time, revealing connections that only become meaningful when viewed through the lens of hope and faith. Sometimes the most meaningful moments are not the ones that surprise your eyes, but the ones that quietly awaken your heart. You may have noticed certain memories returning lately, not to pull you backward, but to help you understand how much you have changed. The person who once carried every burden alone is slowly learning that strength is not found in pretending everything is perfect. It is found in continuing with hope even when the road ahead cannot be fully seen. There is something important here, because the lessons that stay with you the longest are often the ones that arrive with gentleness instead of noise. Think about the people who have crossed your path over the past months. Some stayed only briefly, yet they taught you something valuable. Others remained beside you through ordinary days, reminding you that genuine care is often expressed through simple acts rather than grand gestures. Even the conversations that seemed small may have planted seeds of encouragement you are only beginning to recognize. When you pause and reflect, you may realize that your journey has never been random. Every experience has quietly shaped your perspective, helping you become more compassionate, more patient, and more willing to trust that every season carries its own purpose. The changes inside you may not always be visible to others, but they are real, and they matter more than you know. As you continue toward the date you have marked, let it become an opportunity to renew your outlook rather than measure your expectations. Instead of asking what the future will bring, ask yourself who you are becoming. That question has the power to change everything. A peaceful heart notices blessings that a restless mind often overlooks. Gratitude opens your eyes to moments that would otherwise pass unnoticed. Even today, there may be quiet reasons to smile that you have not yet fully appreciated. Stay with this, because when you begin to see your life through gratitude instead of pressure, even ordinary days start to carry extraordinary meaning. Before moving forward, take a quiet moment for yourself. Release the need to have every answer immediately, and allow hope to become your companion instead of uncertainty. Continue speaking words of kindness over your own life. Continue believing that each new day offers another opportunity to grow, and continue walking with confidence even when the next step feels small. The most beautiful chapters are often written one faithful step at a time, and your story is still unfolding with purpose. In the next part, everything comes together as you discover how quiet faith, patient endurance, and a thankful heart can bring lasting peace that remains long after a single date has passed. There comes a moment when you stop searching for extraordinary signs and begin noticing the extraordinary meaning hidden inside ordinary days. That shift changes everything. The sunrise feels different because you no longer see it as another routine morning. A simple conversation carries more value because you listen with greater patience. Even the quiet moments you once tried to escape become places where your heart finally has room to breathe. If this message has stayed with you this far, it may be because you have already begun that quiet transformation without fully realizing it. Don't miss what comes next, because the greatest changes often become visible only after you pause long enough to recognize them. When you eventually look back at July 3rd, let it remind you of something far deeper than a date on a calendar. Let it remind you of the decision to move forward with hope instead of hesitation. Let it remind you that your worth was never determined by how quickly life unfolded, but by the character you developed while waiting. Every challenge taught you resilience. Every unanswered question invited you to grow in wisdom. Every season of quiet strengthened parts of you that comfort and certainty never could. What once felt like standing still may have been the very season that prepared your heart to appreciate each new opportunity with humility, gratitude, and lasting peace. There is also something beautiful about realizing that not every meaningful change happens where everyone can see it. Some of the greatest victories take place within the heart. You become more forgiving without announcing it. You become more patient without expecting applause. You become more confident without needing constant approval. These are the quiet victories that shape a life of lasting purpose. As you continue your journey, carry this gentle reminder with you. Every day offers another chance to choose kindness, to extend grace, to encourage someone else, and to believe that your life can become a source of light simply by remaining faithful to the values that have quietly guided you this far. As this chapter draws to a close, allow your heart to rest instead of striving for certainty. You do not need every answer today to walk with confidence tomorrow. Continue embracing each new morning with gratitude. Continue trusting that every season has something meaningful to teach you. And continue believing that your story is still unfolding in ways you cannot yet fully see. The peace you have been searching for is often found not at the end of the journey, but in the willingness to walk it with faith, hope, and an open heart. In the final part, this message will come full circle, leaving you with a quiet sense of clarity, gratitude, and purpose that you can carry long after this video ends.